Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the K-pop astrology segment here at the Fangirls YouTube channel. And today I am trying to record this on Wednesday, November 12th at 4:45. Very last minute. I've been trying to get this out for a while now, but because we are wrapped up trying to record as much content because these groups keep um pumping out content for us. It's been really difficult to record this episode, but hopefully it makes it out on time. If it doesn't, I do apologize. But today I wanted to go over GIRLSET's Astrology, also known as VCHA and now rebranded as GIRLSET. And this is because they are having an upcoming comeback with Little Miss. So I kind of wanted to bring back their astrology breakdown. Now, I did do a sort of astrology breakdown when they first announced their rebrand, and I did it based off of the East Coast. Find out they're based off of LA. However, I do like taking into consideration the time zone that they pick to release things. So I still do think that the East Coast time for commas when it first launched is still pretty accurate to the energy that we first saw from them. But now that I know, because since comma, they did like a live performance of it in LA. And so because this is JYP's USA's branch of the entertainment, I did want to take into consideration like the actual because technically that would be like their birthplace. Granted, even with Little Miss, EST time is being used, but now I kind of have a birthplace for them, which would be LA. So technically this chart is like a day before because they do release as EST midnight, which in LA is like 9 p.m. The day prior. So just a little disclaimer on that. You can kind of still take both energies. It's just one represents more of their digital download and presence, and the other one is more like their birth chart. All right. All right. So, some groups don't really have to start over completely, right? They just need that one moment that changes everything for them. And I feel like that was what happened from VCHA to GIRLSET. So they started out as VCHA, a global JYP project that had potential, but hit so many major like roadblocks from members leaving, fans really being unsure of what would happen next. And then, out of nowhere, a rebrand. I mean, I'm pretty sure some of us were already expecting it, but it was still like is it gonna happen? Is it not? But they did. And so today we are looking at what that rebrand really means astrologically. And we'll break down the chart for the first single. So for the first debut as GIRLSET, commas, and then what this comeback Little Miss kind of shows where this new chapter of GIRLSET is headed towards. We're using August 28th, 2025 at 9 p.m. This would have been the time that Commas was released at the same time in the East Coast was at midnight on the 29th. So the first couple of things that I do want to point out is I always talk about the first house in astrology because it kind of gives us a glimpse of how they show up to us, right? And the group was pretty much under an Aries rising, and literally Aries is assigned one, it's the first sign in the zodiac, and it's a sign of new beginnings. So if you think about it, it's almost like the perfect setup because Aries is also ruled by Mars, and Mars is a planet of drive, of confidence, and doing things first. So after losing members and having to rebuild, Aries rising basically says, watch us start again and stronger because Mars is a very resilient planet. And it's like our drive and stuff like that. Now, right on the rising sign, though, we do have the planet Saturn and Neptune right here, and they're together. So they're conjunct. And that's kind of an interesting mix as well, because Saturn is the planet of structure and discipline, while Neptune brings like this blurriness, but also imagination and almost like illusion or vision about things. So a girl set's new identity is about kind of finding balance between what is practical and what is dreamy, like working smarter, but also believing in their artistry again and their ability to be artists. So it's not about that team pop for fun concept that we were looking at with VCHA anymore, and it's more about being more self-aware and more intentional. And so a rebrand like this isn't about like completely avoiding the past or like erasing the past. It wasn't like a clean swipe. It was about really owning it and just rewriting that narrative for everybody. And so, of course, not only is this their debut, but it's also the commas comeback. So, let's just pretty much dig into it. So, one of the things about commas, um, I know that the girls, or not the girls, because I'll go get into this a little bit more, but I know that a lot of the criticism behind commas was like, it was too short, like where was the budget? We didn't even have like an official music video. And kind of after looking at reevaluating this chart, I can kind of see why if it was intentional, and I'm hoping that it was in a way. But think of it like it wasn't a complete like swipe, right? We're not completely avoiding our past, right? As a group, it's almost like a breath after you've endured chaos. So that little pause that you get right before you're actually like launching yourself. So I'll bring this back up again, but we do have Sun in the sixth house of Virgo. And one of the things about having the Sun in Virgo in the sixth house is that the Virgo energy, it's all about refining things. It's about improving and kind of providing through effort because it is a house of service. So the song had a more grounded vibe. So it was a rebrand. So in some sort of element, it had to have some structure to it in a sense where like you could tell that there was clean production. Their vocals had improved tremendously, and it was very detailed. Like I remember watching the performance video and just being completely like stunned as to like I could see how much they worked towards this rebrand in regards to commas. Like, choreography was tight, the vocals were beautiful, and it's just you could tell how much effort they put into just this performance to begin with. However, because the sun does square this Uranus and Gemini right here at 1 degree, it's not like a super tight, but it's fairly close to me personally. And that still brought up in my eyes like a sort of rebellion underneath the perfection and, detailed that the Virgo sun can be. So it was very polished, but it was still very unpredictable in the sense because we also didn't know we were coming from VCHA, and that was a completely more like toned down younger concept. And with Girlset, it was more of a like girlhood type of, concept. And so there was a sense of unpredictability because we didn't know how like how 180 it was gonna turn out. But because of that Aries rising, it also had that layer of confidence, but it wasn't like too loud to be like dramatic. It was the right change and the right concept that fit them now. Now, the other thing that I would like to point out is the moon in Scorpio in the eighth house. So, with the moon in Scorpio, that's our emotional core. And in the sign of Scorpio, in of itself, it's very deep, it's a very intense sign, and it's very raw, it's real. And so it reflects everything that they've gone through as a group, right? Scorpio moons are about transformation, and this is exactly that. Like turning loss, turning all the things that they went through behind the scenes and doing something magnetic that would reel you back in, right? So when we look at commas, it's almost like you could feel that that pain and loss. And I feel like even with the teaser, it kind of hinted at things of like almost being able to say we're moving past this. We survived this is what I'm trying to get to. So there was a feeling of like an energy of survival and growth within the teaser that was, that brought us commas, right? Now, one thing that I do want to point out is that the Moon in Scorpio does trine this Jupiter in Cancer, which is a double whammy that I like to call for water energy. And in the sign of Cancer, because it is the nurturer, like that mother nurturing archetype, it adds heart and warmth to that sense of like survival and growth. So I feel like the people who are really going to support and follow the girls, that fandom is going to feel safe rooting for them, you know? And I feel like these girls have a little special place in our hearts as people who have seen their journey um, from the survival show. And watching them through VCHA and now GIRLSET, they do, there's this sense of feeling of like wanting to root for them. And because the moon is also close to Lilith right here, Lilith also, there's like a sort of rebellious feminine energy here that is kind of like reclaiming their power again. And I feel like with the fandom, it is something that subconsciously we can feel that these girls are trying to reclaim their power and their narrative through this rebrand. And I think I've seen, yeah, I haven't watched it, but I did see that they did a interview. I think it was it with Billboard. I haven't watched it yet. And I guess they were addressing some things in regards to, what happened with Vicha, which I feel like that's the perfect like marketing for them, because I feel like they are navigating the way that the chart wants, which is again like that sense of reclaiming their power as artists and now as Girl Set and no longer Vicha. Um, Sorry, I talk too fast and then I have to like okay. All right. So now I also want to bring up Venus and Leo. Now, with Venus and Leo, that is glam, that is charisma, that is fashion, and we have been seeing fashion. But Venus also opposes Pluto, so there's a tension between image and authenticity. So it's beauty, but it's also used as empowerment. So it's not technically like being forced, but it's not polished for the sake of being polished or perfect or perfectionist, but it's more like through earned confidence that I feel like even though it's an opposition between Pluto and the Venus axis, it's still something that it's like I've been saying, kind of reclaiming their power. And so it's earned. It's not just given for the sake of for the sake of dramatics, right? So when we think of this rebrand debuted and when we think about comma, it's not the don't think of it as a new start. Think of it as just like a comma in their story. So like the way when we're using commas is like that pause, right? And then we continue writing and then we finish with a period. So it's that pause before the next chapter, which I'll get into a little bit more. But just so you guys can kind of have like a zoomed out, like look again, right? Just putting this chart together, it basically says that they're rebuilding with purpose, not just for the sake of rebuilding or rebranding. Because we have Aries rising, which it's pretty much saying like we're brave enough to start all over again. And then the Virgo sun is their focus on the work and on really perfecting the craft. And then Scorpio moon is kind of giving you that emotional rawness. And then Venus and Leo, they're still going to shine through this whole process. So it's kind of like the perfect formula for a comeback that's built on a growth, but also substance. So, it was almost like the perfect time for them to be coming back. And with Neptune being there on the ascendant, it just means that their visuals, their lyrics, and even their concept have the potential to kind of lean into more of that dreamlike or nostalgic or emotional concepts. So we'll probably see Girl Set kind of shift into something that feels almost like cinematic, or like music that kind of feels very old school in a sense, or something that like a sound that kind of just triggers some sort of memory. Um, and that's going to be part of like their long-term signature because Neptune is going to be transiting their first house for a while. And so I feel like it's definitely going to be making at least their brand is going to revolve a lot around emotions or like what's the word that I'm trying to look for? Not induced, but kind of like trigger a sort of emotion out of the audience. Now, I do want to pull up a quick transit bio wheel for girls. Oh, all right. So now we're jumping to November 13, 2025, 9 p.m. LA time with their newest comeback, Little Miss. So if you notice, the inside chart is the birth chart and the outside chart is the Little Miss comeback. So immediately the energy shifts here because instead of aligning with the Aries energy for the first house, if you were to take away the inside chart, right, and just project the one from the comeback, you can tell that this chart has an ascendant in the sign of Cancer, which we talked about. It's more of a softer, more emotional sign. So instead of proving themselves, now they're opening up. The vibes are going from we're back to here's what we really are. So in this chart, and now I'm going to remove the transit chart if I can. Okay, let me see if I can. Okay, So if you take a look at this chart, we do have Sun in Scorpio at 22 degrees. Now with the Sun in Scorpio in the fifth house, it brings like that confidence, but it also brings vulnerability in a very like expressive way, but it's still grounded in emotion. So it's playful, but it's intense. Um, there's still emotion, there's still heart behind lyrics, right? And the purpose of this whole comeback. Now, also in Scorpio, we have Venus. And with Venus and Scorpio, it kind of deepens the theme even more. So it's not about like sh shallow charm. It's more about depth, closeness, and even maybe almost healing through this track or like healing through music. So because the sun also trines Jupiter and Saturn, right here, Saturn and then Jupiter, it makes this watery trine. So it kind of stabilizes that emotion, that rawness that Scorpio gives us. So it's not like something that is just in passing. It's going to really help be some sort of foundation for what Girl Set is going to be, pretty much. And then we also have Mars and Mercury in Sagittarius. Now, the sign of Sagittarius just adds an exploration archetype to these planets. So they might even experiment with different genres, or I wouldn't be surprised if maybe this track has a genre switch or mix in there, or they even add languages here because this is a global girl group. And then if you also add Uranus into the mix, which is at 29 degrees, it also kind of brings us and adds like a level of like because it's an analytic degree, it almost makes it into this like big karmic chapter for them. And I feel like it's really almost testing the waters before stepping into more creative freedom that we might be able to see with Girl Set. Sorry. So if commas was a Girl Set saying, hey, we're still here. Then Little Miss is them saying, this is who we are becoming, or this is who we've become in the process. So it's very bold, confident, and emotionally honest for this comeback. But um pulling up the whole chart. So really to wrap it up, like I was saying with commas, is honestly that pause before completely rewriting their new book, as Girl Said. And Little Miss is going to be the start of this new book, of this new chapter in their lives. And the astrology behind both charts really shows a level of evolution. So from just like rebuilding to a more a grounding chart, and to finally kind of feeling at home with the identity that Girl Said is going to be moving forward with. And so with Neptune also going to be transiting that ascendant, that first house for the next couple of years, Girl Set is not only going to be more dreamy, more cinematic, and more emotionally connected, but it's going to be like with every release, with every comeback, there's going to be a new level of like this dreamy illusion type, or even more sentimental, emotionally driven concepts. I feel like we're definitely going to see them as a group that is going to evolve continuously before our eyes, and in a way that we are going to be able to respect that effort in being able to like continuously grow as artists. So from here on out, it's not about focusing their attention on the rebrand that was commas, but now moving forward, they're going to be trying to build a legacy through transformation, kind of using that pain that they might have gone through, those challenges that they went through, and using them to come up top and really setting their own narrative as to what girl set means to them. So this might have been a shorter breakdown just because I kind of wanted to get it out there as soon as possible. Hopefully I can get this out before the comeback, if not on comeback release date. But I'm just really excited to really see what Little Miss is all about. I'm already loving the visuals. And it kind of also has like this sense of duality, which I kind of brought up with the original girl set chart, which obviously I have to kind of manually input here. Um, so yeah, with like this Uranus, a square sun, but also sextiling that Venus Leo, which is confidence, being able to kind of like go have like the sense of duality that they can play with and be confident in. And I feel like we've definitely seen that in the up like these last few pictures, these last few concept photos and teasers that we've gotten where they're duo pictures and they're like sort of dark and then the really colorful ones. So I definitely feel like they're going to continue to show us again going back to Neptune, almost that like dream-like um aura or visual concept that they can give us while also simultaneously playing with um within the boundaries of like light and dark and representing a sense of like duality within them as a group. So again, thank you so much for being here. And like I said, hopefully this comes out on time. And let me know if you guys, if you do watch this after the Little Miss comeback, please let me know what your thoughts are in regards to your take on Little Miss. And do you think it tracks? Do you think it lines up? And maybe what you're expecting or hoping to see from them in the future. And also, please let me know what other groups you might be interested in me kind of doing an Astro deep dive on. I think I have a list already that I'm working on. I'm trying to fit in the groups that I know a little bit more about that might have upcoming comebacks and stuff like that to do their charts. But if it's a group that is brand new, I'm kind of doing the debut chart. But if it's a comeback and they've debuted a while ago, I tend to kind of do both. So just keep that in mind. And of course, I will include information on my socials below if you guys want to go check that out, and also the socials for the fangirls. Because most of my astrology takes and stuff like that, I also throw into my own personal socials. So you can check those out as well. And also checked out pretty much like the first like energy read that I did for the astrology of GIRLSET. So yeah, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And we do have a Patreon. I'm trying to figure out what I want to add to it personally as an astrologer. So if you have any ideas, please let me know. I'm open to suggestions. Because this is, I don't I don't know if you guys just want to see charts or individual charts. So please let me know in the comments and any thing that you guys might be, you know, interested in as far as Patreon goes. But again, thank you so much for staying with me thus far, and I will catch you guys on the next video. Bye.